I can't believe the calendar is 2026. We're already like halfway through the month. By the time this episode's drop, it'll almost be the end of January, which is even more mind blowing. Time is flying. But the conversations keep rolling on, and I think we're in for another fun one here as we welcome in a country artist. She was recently on the TV series The Road and released several singles in 2025. And I'm guessing we'll find out what she's got in store for us here in 2026 in just a little bit. Let's welcome in Olivia Harms.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, thank you. I know we were joking beforehand. There's a 3 hour time difference between us, which is wild. Normally, I have like maybe Texas and Nashville like 1 hour, but three. I mean, how you doing out there on the West Coast?
Yeah, West Side represent. Yeah, the Pacific time zone. We're good, It's just like hanging out, just kind of getting to start the chill happy hour. You guys, I guess, depending on Monday, I guess. I don't know how wild folks get on Monday, but you might be the end of your happy hour while mine is just getting started. So it's good stuff.
I love it. I love it. And this is bar conversation, so I gotta ask or start out with the question: what's your go-to drink? What are you drinking tonight?
Tonight I have some wine. I am definitely a wine girly. Red wine, most all kinds. I don't like sweet. I'm not a wine snob though. I don't, I'm not like really pinkies up, uppity. I can't do the whole like what's the flavor profile, the tannins. I'm really trying to learn since I'm like near wine country, but I haven't mastered it yet. So tonight we're on wine, but I do dabble in some other drinks, once in a while.
I was gonna say, I mean, you are in what I believe Northern California is where home
Yeah.
is these days. I
Yeah.
mean, I would have to assume you might know at least one or two things about wine, or they've at least tried to tell you one or two things.
Yes, I have learned, and then I do come from wine country in Oregon too. So the Willamette Valley has been known for like Pinots and like some other kinds of grapes. Don't ask me because I'm not a wine scientist. I just like drinking it. But yeah, I come from one wine country, Pinot Noir, and now I'm closer to like Napa, Sonoma. I'm still like 2, 3 hours away, but just from one to the other, and as long as they got the grapes and the wine that's like good, I'm happy.
I love it. I love it. I'm with you. I know just enough of wine to like at least now know the different varieties. Like it's
Yeah.
taken me a while to do that, and I love a good red wine, Cab Sauv, some Malbec, things like that. So
Yes,
I'm right there
absolutely.
with you.
Yeah, like I would love to learn more. It's just that I don't have the full knowledge yet. I haven't had time to go to wine school, so
Well,
I
you were
still have a
on the
lot
road,
to.
literally.
I know I was on the road, but I did slip away to Napa this last October of 2025, and I went there with my best friend, and we learned a lot. Like I have so much to learn about wine. The Cab Sauv, they like the best flavor comes from like stressing the grapes, which was a really interesting thing. I learned that I would have had no idea that if you put them up in like high terrain where it's rocky and they're stressed and they're hot, that's where you get some really good grapes. And like other grapes, like a Pinot, you can't do that with because they'll just like fail. So it was interesting to learn. I have a long way to go, but I'll keep drinking my way there.
Hey, you know more than me on that. Now, I'm not drinking wine tonight. Normally, I try to pair something with my guests, but I was like, I don't have anything from Oregon or California in stock. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, I have something that I just have been looking to enjoy, and that's a little Sagamore High Rye bourbon.
Mm. Okay,
That
so you're a bourbon man.
I am, but I was like, well, I don't have anything else from out there. If you notice the brewery from up in
Oh
Oregon,
yes,
so I
very
did get to go out
nice.
there a few years ago and enjoy some time out there. So I at least tried to make a little connection for you.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, you totally do. And Oregon is known for like some of the best breweries. Like we're loaded with some really good breweries, and we have some good like distilleries too. There's some
Hmm.
good whiskey. My husband is a really big bourbon guy, so he's taught me some more about the bourbon life, and kind of I'm still trying to appreciate it. It's not as easy for me to get down as the wine, but
Hey,
I'm learning.
it is okay, and if you want to, feel free to mix it. No one's gonna judge you, and if they
Yeah,
do, shame on them.
that's right. Shame on them.
I was gonna say no, I do enjoy a good bourbon. I doing these shows, we have a sister show called Neat and Mixed, where a buddy and I get to even try more of these things. When you do a deep dive, you learn some things pretty quick. So I've been very
Yeah.
fortunate on that end.
Yeah, for sure. I've noticed that like I can definitely tell a difference when you have all the like whiskeys side by side, the difference between rye or bourbon or like aged. I can tell the difference between those just like I can tell if you do like a flight of wine and you can tell the difference when the flavor profiles are right next to each other. But I have a long way to go, like I said earlier, before I'm just like picking out a bottle and you sit there and swirl it around. I know people do the same thing with whiskey, so I just maybe that's something my husband and I need to get into is really like swirling, smelling. What is it? They're supposed to like
Little
breathe it in
nosing.
and then
Hmm.
swallow, let it like sit
Yeah.
in. Yeah, I'm not that cool yet, so maybe we'll get there one day.
Don't worry, I'm not great at that either. I've lo and behold, like you, I've begun to pick up a lot more as I've had a few more, and especially when you
Yeah.
try things. I think
Oh,
that's the
for
best part.
sure.
Whether it's food or whatever, you begin to just pick up those nuances a little bit more, and it's fun. It's just a fun little hobby to have, right?
It is for sure, especially like when you can do the food pairings with it. Like that's another fun way to. I could sit here and talk about drinking and eating with you all day, man.
Well, you do this thing called music as well, and I think I read something, and I'm guessing it's true because I read it in multiple places. You made your stage debut at two, not two, age 2 days old, with your mom. Because for those that don't know, your mom has been a pretty decent singer for a little while. So what was I mean, 2 days
Yeah,
old
it's
on
like it's
stage?
so wild. I think I've got all the other musicians beat. Like, I mean, I don't want to jump the gun. Maybe there's an even cooler story out there, but I do take a little bit of pride in feeling like mine is actually like pretty legit. And Mama Harms, she is in the Western Music Hall of Fame, and so she's played music for a really long time. I literally grew up in music, but the story goes that she was pregnant with me. I was past my due date. She was signed to Capitol Records at the time, and she was supposed to play the Portland Speedway with Ricky Skaggs, Lori Morgan, Clint Black, like all these great names. And since I was past my due date, she goes into the doctor and was like, "Hey, man, I really don't want to miss this gig. So, is there any way you can like we can take care of this before the show comes along?" And then I'm like, "Oh, shoot, is it gonna like happen on stage?" So he's like, "Oh yeah, I must have been a country music fan. Joni, why don't you come in on the 13th?" And the show wasn't until the 16th. So she checks in, and even wilder, they put her in room 13 on June 13th. And then at 1:13, which military time is 13:13, I arrive. Like, you can't make it up. And yeah, 2 days later, she was like raring to go again and just had a kid. And she's like, "We got to go on the road." My dad's holding me backstage. She brings me out and says, "Look what I did the other day." And somewhere there's a picture of like Ricky Skaggs holding me. And then from there on out, I just went on the road with my mom. And it's like how I grew up, and I learned from an early age. She's just like, "This is what we do." And I can't complain. It was a wonderful way to grow up.
Well, now you're doing it. So I mean, was there ever a doubt that you would be somehow, some way involved in music then?
For me, no, like that's always what I wanted to do. I got to see from, such an early age, 2 days. I don't remember it, but I can't even remember like my first musical memory, but I always just had this feeling of watching my mom and seeing her make people happy and like bringing joy to people during hard times, or that reward that she gets at the end of a show when someone will come up and be like, "Joni, this song that you wrote really touched me and helped me through a hard time," or "I really felt comfort because I could relate to it." And I think after all of the stories and watching it firsthand, I always knew that that's what I wanted to do, and try to bring that same joy to other people, because life is hard enough, and music really seems to help make life a little better. And so I wanted to be a part of that. But I will say my mom didn't necessarily try to deter me, but she did like was very honest about how difficult the music business is, and was never a stage mom or a show mom. She was always like, "Listen, if you want to do something else, please do something else. Go for an easier path in life, because music is very rewarding, but it takes a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in it." And it's not her first choice to watch me go through it. I think she would have like been perfectly tickled if I was just like, I don't know, in marketing or like something that's like a little less hard on your heart, maybe.
Well, and then you just decided to also go into agriculture too, which is
Yeah.
just a simple thing too and easy. So I think you just like a good challenge.
I love a good challenge. Yeah. I mean, my parents were very adamant that I go to college. And just since I had seen firsthand all the struggles that my mom has gone through, I mean, she's had all these successes, Grand Ole Opry, played Carnegie Hall, played the Ryman, like, Western Music Hall of Fame. But then on the other hand, I've also watched her go through these valleys where, she's got released from Capitol Records and signed to Warner Western, and that just like falls to bits. And you really do watch her go through the ups and downs. And so when they said, please go to college, we would really love for you to go to college, at least try to get some scholarships. I said, okay, why not? I've always been a Oregon State fan, and they have a great agriculture business program. And if I had to choose a second love, like if my voice went away tomorrow, I would do everything in my power to support cattle production and ranching and agriculture because if we like to eat and we like to drink, you got to have agriculture. And so I went and I got a degree in ag business. I got through as quick as I could, 4 years or less, because I had to get myself to Nashville and pursue my real passion. But as soon as I got that diploma, I said, okay, I did what you wanted me to do. The business degree is probably helpful for what I'm headed into. But there we go. I'm going to play music now.
And like I said, I love that you fall back on agriculture and business, which again is just another simple industry. But for those that don't know, it makes a ton of sense because where you grew up, 150-year-old family ranch in Oregon, so that's what you knew too. That's you had a love of that type of lifestyle, that life. So what impact did that have on you growing up there, musically, personally, and things like that?
Yeah, I think when you walk around on soil that's been in the same family for over 150 years, it just kind of does something different to you. Like you don't realize it when you're young, just like I didn't realize that everyone's mom didn't sing when I was young, but when it sinks in and you're older, and you realize that you're the sixth generation and like your great 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 grandfather homesteaded in 1872, the struggles that he had to have gone through and all the people before you that have walked on the very same soil, made a living out of the same soil, just all of those things. I think it really instills in you what hard work looks like, and that there's no reason to give up easy. Like good things take time. You're building something, you're a part of something, and really having that dirt under your nails, and maybe like some scuffs on your boots and holes in your jeans, that's what you have to show for it. And I think that's truly like your little trophies right there, is that you didn't give up and you worked hard enough to get a hole in your boot, or I'm still picking out dirt under my nails and I haven't lived there for a couple years. So I think it just truly instills a work ethic that you just can't have anywhere else, because I was up feeding cows as early as I was singing on stage and traveling with my mom. So I just, that was all I ever knew, was ranching and going on the road and playing music.
So you were prepared to just wake up at any point and be up all night or hang out all night. I mean, it
Oh
just seems like
yeah,
you were
I
ready for
mean,
it all.
I was I was ready for whatever. There's plenty of times where she would say, "I've got a show that I have to play, and I'm sorry that I can't leave you in the hotel room, but we've got a table in the back of the green room there, and I brought your pillow and a blanket. So why don't you go set up shop and take a nap under the table in the green room?" And I mean, it's serious. I took many a nap under tables or on the side of a stage or in the back seat of a pickup. And I think that's another thing that maybe people will laugh or say, like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Why would you do that to your child? Or, there's all sorts of ways that could go. But truly, I was raised to go with the flow and like overcome hard things. That truly prepares you to be an adult, because you never know what the next Tuesday brings or what's around the next curve. And I was raised to just kind of go with the punches and figure it out and make the best of it. And so I really am grateful that all these years later, I could sleep under a table again if I had to, if it came down to it. As long as I'm not like dancing on top of one, I guess I could sleep underneath it.
That is very true, and well, and I love that too because I mean, folks that don't know, maybe they got to see it in the road, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. That the lifestyle beyond, they see the stage, they see all the other things, but getting from place to place can sometimes be an uncomfortable van ride packed full of equipment and people. So I mean, it seems like you were well prepared, and also. I think you mentioned, like your first memories of playing and things like that. I mean, I read where Santa Claus delivered your first guitar at 6. Is that when
He
you
did.
found the love of guitar and have been playing ever since?
Yeah, he did. That was all I wanted because I'd watched my mom play Taylor guitars, and she had told me, or I had heard, or something that there's a thing called a baby Taylor, and they're just the perfect little size. And so I was on my best behavior, and I prayed, and I hoped, and I wished, and I sent letters to Santa Claus, and lo and behold, Christmas morning he brought me one. And so there's a video of it somewhere on those old ancient VHS tapes, where dad's like looking through and I open it up and I'm so excited and I look him dead in the eye and I'm like, I'm gonna have a couple songs cranked out for you by this evening. You just wait and see. And it was a little more difficult than maybe 6-year-old me thought because you have to deal with those silly little things called calluses. But still, I hopped right on it and I started playing and writing and I mean, that's kind of where I got my start. And I didn't really want much help either, which is the wildest thing. I have this great mom that would have been a wonderful resource for me. But I guess that history in my blood really does make me stubborn because I just wanted to figure it out on my own and write my own songs and teach myself how to play. And I really didn't go to her for much advice. People ask me that all the time, like, "Oh, was she really instrumental in your learning?" And I said, "No, I mean, finally when I was like a teenager, yeah, but I mean there's probably 10 years there where I did not want her to help me. I did not want her opinion. I just wanted to blaze my own little trail and prove to myself that I could do it, and I guess that's what I done."
Well, I was gonna say your very first album that you ever did when you were at 16. I think you were still going through maybe that stubborn, rebellious phase of life because your mom is very Western, country sound, and you went as far away from that on country to some pop country on that
I
album.
totally did. I was full teeny bopper. Taylor Swift was my queen. I was 16 years old and I was in, the heat of high school. And so, what do you write songs about? Teenage boys. And I mean, I was in FFA and 4-H, and I suppose that helped keep me from getting too like on the pop side because you can only write so so much pop music about FFA boys. But yeah, truly, that's what I use for my inspiration. And lots of times, folks will say, "How come the debut Olivia album isn't on Spotify?" And maybe one day, if I kind of reach some of these career goals that I've been working hard at, maybe I'll release it. But for now, while I'm still kind of building my fan base and trying to climb the ladder, I think if somebody saw me at a show and they went on Spotify and they listened to that album, they would be like, "What in the world is this? This is not the honky tonk rodeo music I was listening to." It'd throw them way off. So until we reach that milestone where I release the debut album, um, it's gonna stay in the archive, or you can come buy it at a live show because I still have CDs of it if you really want to hear it. I sound way different. It's like going back in time, but I still have it.
Well, I just love that, and you talk about like Taylor Swift was who you idolized then. What music did you grow up on that had an impact on you, and even to this day that still has an impact on you?
I grew up on the good stuff, like truly, Merle Haggard, Buck Owens, George Strait, Brooks and Dunn. Some of my favorites are like Lee and Womack. They're just like all that really, really good music. And I think that's what molded me and shaped me into who I am. There was a period of time, though, where, my mom was on such a Western side that I didn't realize how good I had it. I didn't realize what great culture or music that I was getting exposed to. And she would take me to a lot of cowboy gatherings because she's playing this wonderful Western music. And so she dressed me up in like the wild rag and the hat and like the whole full regalia. And I got to this point where you want to rebel, you want to be your own person. And so I just hated it for a while. And I thought, I don't know why I have to dress like a cowgirl all the time. And I didn't realize how lucky I was to be hearing Riders in the Sky and Don Edwards and Ian Tyson and all these people that are or like Marty Robbins song live, like just all these great storytelling musicians, I didn't have any idea how lucky I was. And so I think that that teenage time, I was really like, I'm going to dress myself, no more hat, no more boots, like let me explore what else is out in the world. But the funniest thing was when I finally moved to Nashville right after college. And I mean, I'd kind of come back around to being in more of the agricultural life anyways, because I went to school for it and I was like plenty involved in 4-H and FFA, like I said. But when it came to my writing, I really found that when I tried to write contemporary country music in Nashville, it just felt like nails on a chalkboard to me. I could not seem to feel like it was a job well done. I couldn't feel like it was as authentic to me. And so I tried for a couple years because I just did not want to relent. But finally, I realized that I was born to play traditional country music, and that's who I am. That's what fans relate the most to because I totally believe that listeners have a sixth sense and they can tell when a musician is playing music that's authentic to them and true. And so when they were all about my cowboy rodeo honky tonk music and I was feeling good about it, I thought, well, I guess it's just come back full circle. And now all those outfits that my mom used to wear, she's given to me, and I wore a ton of them on the road. And yeah, you really won't catch me at a show without my hat and boots on now. So it's just come full circle. And, I think you kind of need that time to explore what else is out there
Mhm.
to kind of really come back and be like, no, the way I was raised and who I am authentically is the best version. I'm going to stick to what's true.
Well, and it just makes sense. I mean, like you said, the authenticity is something that really can come through on music, and for you, I mean, when you go back to those, traditional country roots, you've also kind of described your sound as, kind of Bakersfield, Nashville, Texas. You kind of throw all of them in a blender. I mean, when you finally kind of found your sound, which, as I've talked to many artists, they say that's kind of the hardest thing sometimes is to find the true you
Yeah.
and your music. I mean, what was that like for you when you had maybe that aha moment of your sound and the song was just started making sense to you?
I think that you really are so right that like it's like putting it in a blender, or if you go to make cookies, you just take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and then it's like your own recipe. Because what my music is not totally western. There's got a flair of that. It's got the cowboy gathering western ranchy portion in there, but it also has the Merle Haggard and the Buck Owens and the Dwight Yoakam that I was totally raised around and listening, and that West Coast, Oregon, California, we have that very West Coast sound. So that's included in there. Lots of rodeos, lots of cowboys. I mean, that's who I play for. That's my audience. Those are my people. So that's in there. I lived in Texas for a while. You throw in major honky tonks, and then that portion of time where I lived in Nashville and tried to be contemporary. So it's all of this is added together, and you mix it around and you put it in the oven at 350 for a while, and then it pops out Olivia Harms music, and you say, okay, I think we finally found the right recipe. People are connecting to it. They seem to want more of it. Like I think we finally found it, and it makes you feel really good when now I can confidently go to Nashville. Like I was just there. I just got back. That's how I started my year. And I had a few people and a few meetings that were like saying, well, where do you think you belong? And I can confidently say, I know who my audience is. I don't need you to do any artist development. I know who I am and who my fans are. I just need a little help to go find them because I know they're out there.
Well, and I was going to say for you, you've done many of these things solo. You're your own publicist for the most part. I mean, I know you've got some help on some of these things now. Your own booking agent, and different things like that. I mean, that business degree, I'm guessing you put it to a lot of good use here lately.
I am very thankful that they pushed me to do that because there's so many times where when you are a one woman show and like that, that's for real. That is the best use of the term. Because I wear so many hats. It's not just getting up on stage and singing. It's not just writing the music. It's not just putting a band together that I feel relays the music and like how I hear it in my head. It's so much more than that. And I think like one of the hardest things is trying to figure out how to string tours together when you're in the middle of summer and you're saying, okay, I'm responsible for 4 people. I have 4 employees that I need to keep alive, fed, watered, have a place for them to stay, like, pay them, and then string all these gigs together on my own for places that I have no idea where in the world I'm going, and then still pay all of them for weeks on end, and make it right with them, and then be able to still come out ahead and make it worth my time. And I think that the business degree does help with that, because it is a tricky thing to do, to put all that together and play that game, or the publicity game, or just social media on its own. That's its own thing to tackle. So I've found that the hardest thing to do in my job is not the music at all. That's the easiest part of what I get to do. It's the time management of, like, okay, where do I find the time to make all the content? Where do I find the time to make all the calls, get my name out there, and then, come home at the end of the day and try to at least have a little bit of a personal life, or, if I've been gone for 4 or 5 weeks, make my husband feel like I'm present and, like, willing to clean the house and make some food for him.
That's very kind of you, very kind of you. No, but I mean,
Oh
it,
yeah.
it, it like we talked about earlier. It is a wildlife. Like, so many people don't get to see that side of things, and you know, I think to some degree they might have gotten to see a little bit of it on the show that you were on the road. What was it like to be part of that? You did that in 2025. It came out in the fall, where you were hand selected by Taylor Sheridan and Blake Shelton, and you were competing to open for Keith Urban. What was that like? Because I'm guessing folks got to see a little bit of behind the scenes with that if they
Yeah.
were able to watch it.
Such a crazy experience. I mean, I'm still pinching myself that I was able to be a part of it. That's not something that I had on my bingo card for 2025 at all. I could have never dreamed that I would have an opportunity like that, or pay to have that kind of exposure. So, I mean, I'm still counting my blessings because of it. But that was really what got me so interested in being a part of the show, was that I was going to be able to show folks what it's like, because there's so many times where in our industry, sometimes people will say, "Oh, like, what do you do at home?" or like, "What do you do all day?" Or, they don't, and that's not their fault. They have no idea. How would they? This is a completely unique job, and they would have no idea of how to understand what we do or what we go through. But the road really gave folks at home a chance to watch on their TV and see, like, if you're sick, or, if you're going through something heartbreaking at home, or you're just missing your dogs and your friends or your family, or you're missing out on somebody's wedding because you agreed and you signed a contract and now you can't get out of it, and you're a person of your word, so you can't cancel the show. Those are all things that happen in the music business all the time, and the show must go on. People don't pay or come out to see you to hear about how you're sad that you're missing your best friend's baby shower. They don't. I'm not saying that they don't care, but that's not why they're there. So the show has to go on. They're there to hear you play music, entertain them, make them smile. And the show truly gave folks an opportunity to, like, to have a little insight on what it is being crammed in a bus with, people that I didn't really know, that were my competition, having all this stress and having all the anxiety of, like, being on a competition show, and wanting to do your best job, but also being sad and missing home. Like, it was really a great way for people to just have a better look at what an up and coming musician does go through all the time to chase their dreams, and how it can be hard, but it is 100% worth it. And then to top it off, like, the selling point for me truly was that we got to play our original music, because it was the first music competition reality TV show of its kind that I know of, where you got to play original music. And like I said earlier, I think that's how fans truly relate. I can do a bang up job of one of my favorite covers, and maybe kind of convince people that I can sing it well, but I think when it's something that I wrote and it comes from the heart, I think that's when you really get the audience to turn their head and be like, wow, I really like this person. That song hit home for me. And so the road was a wonderful opportunity to cast the net. And I know that in hindsight, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the show, put me on mute and just, like, scan a minute or two ahead. Um, but I know that I'm truly not the best opener for Keith Urban. Nobody would put me and Keith Urban at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville together on a major headlining tour. I would be much better suited for Zach Top or Midland or George Strait, where you have the honky tonk sound. Keith Urban is an amazing entertainer and a heck of a guitar player. I like I will just give him all the glory all day long, but he is definitely more of a ripper and a shredder and like big energy with a little bit of the pop country. And maybe Teenage Liv would have done a really good job. But now that I found my sound, it wasn't the best match. And when it's his fan base that's doing the voting and that you're trying to win them over, they didn't even know that we were going to be there. They think that they're coming to a pop-up Keith Urban show, and then they have 12 or 11 or whatever it is openers to vote on and say this one's my favorite. I'm not totally shocked that I didn't rank up the ladder higher. I mean, I kind of knew going into it, and it's something that I can oddly say that I'm proud of. I don't feel disheartened that I'm not a great opener for Keith Urban. I sort of take it as a compliment.
Well, and I mean, like you said, the show is totally different than anything else out there. And if anyone just watched, the cat is in the studio, so sorry for anything that you see behind me, or if you see me turn, because I'm not sure what she's tearing up at this exact second. But the show, The Road, like you said, is so different. It's not like American Idol or The Voice or so many other shows that have come along where, like you said, it's a lot of singing covers, and also you're kind of, it's a week by week thing. You're in a studio somewhere. You were literally on the road trying to win over people that had no clue who you were technically.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what was the biggest takeaway that you had from something like that, where maybe you, like you said, you did have an uphill battle?
I think the best thing I learned from it was it's like kind of twofold. The first was that I can definitely put myself outside of my comfort zone. I'm a greenhorn, like I don't use in-ear monitors. I was been so used to using like floor monitors and wedges that when they said, "Here you go, we're gonna run in-ears for the show, and you need to be okay with it." And I mean, I kind of panicked for a minute because I was like, I've never used these. Oh my gosh, what is it gonna do? And like it's just something different that you have to be pushed outside your comfort zone. I tried them. They were great, and now I'm in love with them. Like so, but if you push yourself to just get a little uncomfortable, you can overcome all sorts of things, even if it is in a stressful situation. But I think the second thing that was so beneficial for me is, like we can't. I'm never going to lie. I'm always transparent that this is a hard job. And there are plenty of times where I feel like, woo, I'm doing great. Like I'm chasing my dream. I'm so blessed that I get to do this life and live this dream. And if I never go up any more rungs of the ladder, like I'm content. And that is true. But there are also plenty of moments where you have a show where there was only 5 people that showed up, or, like you have those moments that really test you on, why am I doing this? Does anyone even care? Or like, am I making a difference in the world? Am I even any good? Like you definitely have those. And if you don't, I mean, kudos to you if you're a fellow musician and you never have those moments of weakness. But I think the road really gave me that little extra boost of confidence where I'm like, well, I guess Taylor Sheridan and Blake Shelton and the folks at CBS think I'm okay. So I guess I'll keep going. I won't give up yet, because I guess there's a few folks that would have shut me down, and they would have had no reason to build me up and choose me for a show if they didn't think I was any good. So I'll
No,
take it.
there's some talent there. Don't ever beat yourself up on that. And did you make any friends? Anyone you're still talking to or anything from the show?
I did. Yeah, they were all incredible musicians, and like that's something I was so grateful for and really impressed by, is who they chose and the array of country musicians that they chose. It was all country music based, but they definitely did a good job of having a little bit of each genre. Like there was definitely your folk Americana, there was your traditional country music, there was more like country rock, and then like contemporary country. But they were all so good. Like every musician that was on the show really deserved to be there. They were all so talented. And I really appreciated the fact that we had all been like putting in the mileage on the road personally before we got chose to be on the TV show The Road. And there's no disrespect, but they didn't go on social media to try to find like who's blowing up right now, who's the hottest musician with the most views, and like the fact that they really went to find people that have been grinding and chasing this dream for a while, putting the miles down. That really meant a lot to me because I felt very like seen and acknowledged that there's folks out there that aren't just looking at the numbers. They're saying like who's really chasing this and who has the grit and the like determination to keep going. And I think that's what made the show so good, is that there was, none of us gave up. We'd been through the ringer before, and we're not willing to go down easy. And so I definitely made some friends. A couple of the girls, Jenny Tolman was like instantly one of my best friends on the show. She's wonderful. Cassidy, she made it very far, and she's like a powerhouse vocals. And then one of my favorite fellas was Forrest McCurran. And if you haven't watched the show, you should just watch it for him because he is so entertaining and he is exactly who you think he is in person. My husband came with me to the premiere in October when it was in Nashville, and he had not met any of the characters yet. And I had told him all about Forrest and like how this guy is just like so funny. And every time I needed to go get fresh air, he'd be like, I cannot come with you, Olivia. Like, I just need a little fresh air. I just want to see the birds and look at the clouds. And I was like, you got to meet him. I can't explain him. He's just great. And even my husband was like, he's like such a funny guy. And you think he's quirky and like putting on a front or a character, but no, that's just who he is. He doesn't even realize how funny he is. So I made some great friends, and that's got to be the best takeaway, is that I have some new lifelong family to share the road with going on.
I love that. And if you want someone with whiskey, your friend Jenny. Sorry, the cat decided to attack something. Um, your friend Jenny on the show loves some Wyoming whiskey, so you might have to just ask her for some tips on the whiskey. But
I might. Yeah, I know. There was a couple nights where I was trying to convince people to drink wine with me, and I got them a few times. But yeah, she is a whiskey girl.
so you ordered the second one that's from the road now. She wasn't on the road then when I talked to her, but no, but I love that, and it's so cool to see what you've done. And you know, before you got on all that, like you talked about, you've been doing this for a while now. You've been putting in the effort. Your second album that you put out that people can actually hear this one, so some of it might be
Sun's
there
out there.
first. Rhinestone Cowgirl. You worked with some legendary writers like Wood Newton, Dennis Morgan. What was it like working with those folks and being able to bring those songs to life?
Well, when I was living in Nashville and I was working on like kind of just writing a bunch of songs to see what would fit my next project, because at that point I had realized, okay, I released an album in 2011, but at this point I lived in Nashville from 2017 to 2020. And so during that time I was like, I know it's time to put out new music. I need to show people who I am, have like a real launch pad of songs that like I can use to show folks like what kind of brand I am and what kind of artist I'm going to be. And so I tried to find some of the more contemporary, like older songwriters. And some people were like, why are you writing with the older guys? And I'm like, I love the older guys. They're the ones that wrote, like Dennis Morgan, he wrote the hits of I Was Country When Country Wasn't Cool, Smoky Mountain Rain. Who wouldn't want to write with him? And so, I mean, I was just spinning circles around myself that day that I got to go in, and he had such a great idea. We chatted for a while because that's often what you do when you go in, and songwriting with someone new can often be like compared to going on a first date because you kind of have to chat and get to know each other and find common ground to know what you want to write about or what you want the story to be. And I had shared with him, sometimes in my line of work being a female, dating is hard, and there has been a few times where people will be like, you should really just like settle down and have babies, get married, give up on this dream, and you know whatever. And so he was like, that's dumb and we need to write a song about it. And so we came up with Goodbye, which is great. It's one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's basically like, I know that you think that I should just settle down and have a baby on my hip, but here's a new song I wrote. It's called Goodbye. And she takes off and says, adios, partner. And there you go. So it was wonderful writing with him. Wood Newton is legendary also. And we had a great time writing together. Kiddie Pool, which is a very like tongue in cheek song. Wrote that with him. And then my producer, D. Scott Miller, he was very like legendary in his time too. He ran Broken Bow Records, but now he's just kind of settled into writing and doing some producing. And we wrote Hey There Cowboy together, wrote a life. So I had a great time writing with these wonderful writers and really getting my first album to look and sound like what I envisioned it to be. And so that one is out there for you to go listen to if you're a Spotify or whatever. Or I have hard copies of it too, but it's a little bit more true blue to what Olivia Harms sounds like.
Well, I was gonna say, you mentioned Kiddie Pool. It's a fun track. You mentioned that tongue in cheek. Is it true that it literally came from sitting in a kiddie pool with a bottle of wine to cheer up a friend?
Absolutely. Yep. I we were the same sort of deal. I was telling Wood like, one of my girlfriends, she just got broken up with and she's really bummed. And so I didn't, wasn't living large at the time, but I said, you can come on over. I got my kiddie pool, I got the wine, I got the dogs, and we were kind of laughing and saying like, yeah, Jolene can have him. It's fine. And he'd better not come back because we're just having a good time here. And so I was telling Wood that story and we started kind of writing Kiddie Pool and it was all true. And it turned out to be a really great song that I think a lot of people have gotten a kick out of. And hopefully it's given them a little, kick in the booty to stand strong and say, you know what, if Jolene does take your man or your woman or whatever he takes from you. God forbid he takes your dogs, but you don't want him anyways. So you just set up shop with the kiddie pool and some wine, and you'll be totally okay.
Well, and you mentioned "Hey There Cowboy," I believe, and you talk about playing at the rodeos and different things, and that was inspired by interesting pickup lines.
Hmm.
I'll leave it at that. That you heard there all week. Were there any that you were like, I can't put that in a song?
Oh, so
What was it
many.
like writing that one?
Yeah, so many pickup lines, and I like. Thankfully, I haven't had to hear too many of them. But as I travel and as I play, a lot of times I'll take some of my girlfriends with me while, I play with the band and I'll say, okay, go cowboy hunting and I'll be here and we'll catch up when I'm done working. And they'll come back at the end and they'll say, oh my gosh, we've heard some of the worst lines tonight. You wouldn't believe it. You like, they're just so rotten. You wouldn't even believe what we've heard. And I've always joked with them that it'd be so much easier if they just said like, "Hey, what's your name?" or you have nice shoes or whatever, but don't use a pickup line because those are just some of them are so awful. And so I had gotten done with a really long day in Nashville and I don't know what came on and I was listening to and I had started to just kind of be like, what would I say, if I was going to talk to a cowboy. And so I started kind of singing and jotting this idea down, voice memo while I was driving. And I ended up working on it for so long. And I kind of got in this little zone where I drove like 30 miles past my exit in Nashville to like get back home. And I finally came to and I was like, oh my gosh, I probably shouldn't be doing this. But like, this song seems like it might be something. And then I sent it to my girlfriends and I was like, what do you think? I was just like, kind of sound like what we deal with at the beer garden sometimes. And they said, you got to finish it, Liv, you got to. So then I took it in the next day and we finished it. And I'm glad that they encouraged me and told me to finish her up because it's one of the songs that's done pretty good for me.
Well, and another song that's done pretty good for you is "This Ain't My First Rodeo." I know that had some good play down in Texas. How did that song come to be, and what was it like to have kind of a maybe a red dirt hit down there?
Yeah, I love Texas, and it was such a good fit for me for a long period of time. Still is, how I ended up spending so much time in Texas and doing the red dirt thing was COVID happened in 2020. I'd been living in Nashville, and I decided that I didn't want to be stuck in an apartment in Nashville for Lord knows how long. So I ended up moving back to Oregon. I was on the ranch for a while. Very thankful that I had open spaces while a lot of the world didn't. But you sit around and you wait for things to change for long enough that then you finally come to the conclusion, at least I did, that my dreams aren't going to chase themselves. And I've got to take matters into my own hands and keep keep doing this thing if I'm going to do music. Like, I got to go find places to play. And all my songwriting buddies, were playing music down in Texas because nobody messes with Texas. You can't shut them down. And so I decided that's where I had to go. And I had to figure out how to live. So if I was going to go on a long trip, I had to bring my two cow dogs with me. So I bought myself a travel trailer and I hooked it up to my pickup. And I was like, I'm going to drive from Oregon to Texas and I'm going to go find places to play. And that's what I did. And I did. I lived in a trailer for like 2 years before living in a trailer with two cow dogs got to be a little old. So then I ended up buying a house in Texas. And I had great success in Texas, and they were all so welcoming to an Oregon girl. And finally, I got connected with a little bit of the music scene, and they said, "Well, you should get your songs on the radio." And so I went through a little bit of the process, and I think this ain't my first rodeo was like my fifth radio release to Texas Red Dirt Music, and it spent like 10 weeks in the top five, which was amazing. And so I guess I can say I have a Texas hit, maybe not anywhere else, but this ain't my first rodeo did really well. And it was another true story, like most of my music is. And I kind of had writer's block, and I had been thinking about how when you're on the road all the time, it's a little bit tricky to date, and lots of people will think you look like shiny and fun. You're up on stage, like this has got to be a fun thing to hang out with. And then the next morning though, you're on to the next town, so you don't mean to break hearts, but you gotta keep going down the road, just like a lot of folks in rodeo or any music or any kind of dream chasing. You're in a town for a day or two, and then off you go to the next one. So I feel like a few folks have been able to relate to it, even if I didn't intend for them to. But it was a easy song to write, and it's kind of one of those that just like fell out of the sky. And by the time an hour had gone by, I had myself a song.
Well, and we've talked about this, throughout our conversation about that, just being having that experience to back up the song. I know you, Gypsy is another one that was very autobiographical for you. I mean, things like that. Why is it so important to you to share those experiences, and what's it like to actually share those experiences? Because some can be good, some can be, lower points in life.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to the fact that people can really connect. And I think when you're a little bit more vulnerable, I feel like that's when people really do like see, oh my gosh, she's like me, or I've been through that too. And a lot of times in our industry, I think we're maybe like more inclined to look like everything's great all the time because we're like that's the entertainer in us to always like put on a good show. But I think the other part of that is like I think of some of my favorite country songs, and I know that they come from a place of like someone going through a heartbreak, and I listen to it and I'm like, oh, they had their heart shattered too, so I'm not alone, like someone's been through this. And you get this kind of like silent comfort through listening to a country song. And I think that's what I strive to do, or strive to be, is give somebody that comfort, a hug through a song where you can just say like, nope, you're not alone in this. I've been through it too. And I think when somebody kind of sees that you're okay with showing your true colors and showing that you've been through it, or that you're having a great time, or that you had a really bad time, and you want to talk about it and share that with them, I feel like it's human nature to kind of connect on a larger level than to just be like, no, everything's great all the time. I never have a bad day.
Because that's just normal. That's how every day goes,
Just
right?
normal. Every day is perfect. It's always sunny.
But I mean, I love that, and I think that's the beauty of music, especially true storytelling in music is those connections, and people get to see themselves and realize the world's maybe a little bigger, and there are other people going through those things. And you released a few songs in 2025. I know you had the road as well, so some things probably changed a little bit than what you expected. Are you working on more music for 2026? What can you tell me and not get yourself in trouble?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's lots more music coming in 2026. I had definitely intended to put out some more in 2025, but a wonderful blessing was dropped in my lap and it kind of derailed the plan. But 2026 is going to be filled with lots of music. That's why I went to Nashville for the first week of the year, because I wanted to go figure out who I'm recording with, kind of get a plan together. I cut a whole bunch of demos. So lots and lots and lots of music. I have one that's in the can for a release in February, so you can be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, we've got hopefully an album or an EP coming at you maybe later this summer. And I'm really stoked about it because y'all deserve some new Olivia Harms music. It's been a minute.
Well, I can't wait to hear that. And you know, for you, you enjoy making the music, but you also enjoy playing the music. And I believe you average like 200 shows a year, or you're pushing well into the triple digits. I mean, what's it like to balance show life, ranch life, personal life, and all that these days?
Yeah, it's definitely like one of those people that has the little stick and like all the little plates spinning. I feel like that. Uh, but I love it. You know, I love the chaos. I don't know what I would do if I just had to sit still. So I feel really blessed that I get to do all these things that I love and continue to do ranching. My husband has a ranch here in Northern California. That's why I've transitioned out of Oregon to California, a place I never thought I'd live, but people plan and God laughs, and this is where you end up. And I get to have that and the ranch life, and still pursue my agricultural passion while go on the road and have somebody that really supports me in what I do and cheers me on from home, and watches the dogs, and does all the things while I'm out there chasing my dream, and trying to make people happy, or give them that hug when they need it. There's nothing more rewarding. I will play for screaming children or nobody, or like the worst gigs that you can imagine. If I can just have that one person that comes up and says, this song that you wrote and you told the story about really inspires me, or really made me feel like I had a friend, and that I'm seen and heard, and I really appreciate what you wrote. That makes it all worthwhile. So it may be a challenge sometimes to be the one woman show and get it all booked and tell it where I'm going to be on social media, and keep chasing the dream and writing the new songs and keep everybody organized, and then go home and herd cattle and dogs and a husband and everything else. But it's very much worth it, and I'm really blessed that I get to live this life.
And I feel like it's very very much you, with everything you've, how your life has been since you were little. And you know, for you, obviously you enjoy being on stage, you enjoy sharing the music. So what is the best part about being up there and sharing those songs with folks?
Like it is that connection to the crowd, and when you know that they hear it, or that you've just played a song and you can tell that like they've got it. And then also my band, they're my family on the road, and there's nothing better than looking over at my fiddle player, who's kind of like my right hand man, and being like, man, you nailed that part, and giving them, razzing them, and kind of joking with them on the road, and having all of our little jokes, and just kind of going through. I wouldn't call it hard times, but whatever it is that we go through on the road, just it's kind of like a trauma bond. Maybe that's the best way to explain it. You all go through this like experience together, whether it's good, whether you're staying in just the crappiest hotel or getting treated really nice. You have these friends that go through it, and nobody else can really get it unless you're there doing it together. And, it's like this team, this family. So I think sharing it with them and sharing it with the people, it makes it all worthwhile. I would never want to do anything different, even on the hardest days. You couldn't pay me enough to have a different job. I love what I get to do, and I think you're right. I think being born right into it, 2 days old, has made me really adaptable. And I kind of just roll with the punches. There's somebody out there has always got it worse than you do. Even if you think you're having a real rough day, you can always find a way to find the positives and overcome it and make it a good day.
Well, and you know, at the beginning I asked, you know, what's your go-to drink? You're having a nice glass of wine tonight. I love asking this at the end or toward the end, and that is, what is your favorite song of yours to perform live right now?
Ooh, right now. You know, I think maybe it's one that was released almost a year ago, and it's called "I'm on My Way." And it just recently, I've played that song live, and I have had such great feedback. Just like what I had told you earlier. I played it at a writers round a week ago in Nashville, and as soon as I was done, I got off stage and I was hanging out, and a lot of times I'll say this, a lot of times you gotta be strategic. Lots of places that I play, honky tonks and bars, I wouldn't trust their wine. So during those times I'm definitely a tequila soda lime gal, ranch water all the way, because you just can't trust bar wine. But I think I was at the bar and I was getting a tequila soda lime, and this gal came up and she said, "Thank you for that song. I'm going on a cross country trip right now and I'm chasing my dream, and I really didn't know if Nashville was where I was supposed to stop and spend a couple days, but because you played the song and you shared the story behind it, I feel like I'm supposed to be here and I'm supposed to keep chasing my dream, and like just thank you for encouraging me." And like I had said earlier, that's what makes it all worthwhile. If I can just help one person and do what music has done for me so many times and carry the torch forward for other people, it's a job well done.
Well, and you're doing a fantastic job. Your songs are great. I can't wait to see what you have next. And you mentioned you got some new songs. If folks are listening right now, check out our social media. I have a feeling very soon, or if not already, there might be some teases for the song dropping in February. So, what else though can folks expect from you in 2026? There'll be 11 whole months still to go when this comes
11,
out.
I know.
So, what can folks expect?
The calendar's filling up. We got lots of tours, lots of places that we're going. So if you want to come find us at a music festival or a rodeo, or there's a couple theaters and like concert places that we're playing, please go on the website and get your tickets, or follow along on social media so you can see what we're up to, or you check out what I'm doing in my personal life, because it's just an open book to see what kind of how cute my dogs are, or what kind of house project we're remodeling, or what we're doing with the ranch, or like, if you want to tag along and feel like you're a part of my adventure, then please do, or come out to a show. You could get the original Olivia Harms CD that's only available at the merch store. So lots of
It's a
things
collector's item.
ahead. Collector's item. I'll even sign it for you. How about
Ooh,
that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. Olivia, it's been so fun to hear your story, your journey. I can't wait to see where you're headed next. Can't wait to see what music's coming because, like I said, I've enjoyed everything I've gotten to listen to so far. And thanks for sharing a drink with me tonight. And
Oh
like I
my
said, a good
gosh.
conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Cheers, new friend, and thank you for having me on. It was a good time.